Alright, what's up everyone? So today I'm going to be doing a video on the differences between the INFJ personality type and the INFP personality type. I think the first thing that I'm going to say is that there are a lot of INFPs that believe that they're actually INFJ. From my own observations and reading Carl Jung's book, Psychological Types, and just like learning about all the different functions and all of that, and just really like focusing on even like group pages and what people like post and how they like respond to stuff and everything. It's just helped me like realize like, I see the problem here. You know how we have like all these superlatives online of like, that you're INFJ if you do this, and then some actual INFJs will be like, oh, well, I don't really do that, so I wonder if I'm really INFJ. Well, no, you are INFJ. That was just an INFP who posted that, who believes that they're INFJ. And although the two types only have one letter difference, they have like no, like each type has like the opposite cognitive function or mind wiring process in their function stack. So the INFJ's function stack in order is introverted intuition, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, and extroverted sensing. And the INFP's function stack in order is introverted feeling, extroverted intuition, introverted sensing, and extroverted thinking. And for those of you who are not familiar with the cognitive functions, I've made two different videos explaining all 8 of the cognitive functions and how they like come out in certain personalities. And you can watch. I have some interview videos coming out, and I already have some interviews videos like out, so that you can not only get some information from actual types themselves, but you can even watch them like in video so that you can see it in real time, like throughout a long video of how they act. Today, I just wanted to talk mainly on the differences, like if you're struggling to identify as either INFJ or INFP, I'm going to help you out with that. And before I even get to that, I want to say that you guys should definitely check out the description of this video. There's an article by Antonia Dodge from personalityhacker.com. I absolutely love that site. I reference that site a lot because their podcast has helped me tremendously. So I recommend that you guys also check out that article in addition to the video that I'm about to say. And yeah, let's get started. So the first thing that I want to say is that INFPs generally tend to be way more interested in their own feelings or the nuances of emotions and feelings and their subjective values and everything, as opposed to INFJs who are more generally focused on their mind. And this is due to NI being the INFJ's dominant function, which is literally, it's kind of complex. So if you want like a deeper dive explanation of that, like I said, check out my cognitive function video, the perceiving function one, or you can check out my metacognition video and I explain NI in detail. But it's essentially watching your own mind like from third person and watching your own mind create patterns. And after you watch your own mind create patterns, then you're able to understand how your mind, like your thought process a lot. And then from doing that for years, then you understand other people's thought process. And then that even helps you to be able to predict like the future. This is the INFJ's like main instrument that they use like all the time, as well as the INTJ, and then ENFJs and ENTJs also use this instrument as well. And INFPs do not have this in their function stack. Instead, they have FI, introverted feeling. And that's literally, it's basically doing the same thing, only instead of watching your mind form patterns and all of that, you're going within yourself and you're getting super in tune with your own emotions and your inner values and just like who you are as a person. Personality Hacker nicknamed that introverted feeling, or FI, they nicknamed it authenticity. It's all about remaining true to yourself and individualistic and all of that. And then they nicknamed NI, or introverted intuition, perspectives, all about like understanding your mind wiring and your mind process, your thought process, and then being able to understand other people's thought process. And so INFPs tend to be a lot better with understanding like how people feel because of how they feel themselves. And then INFJs tend to be a lot better with understanding how people think because of how they think themselves. And both are able to do, the other in like, to an extent, but their superpower is mainly the ones that I've just mentioned for their own. You can see how this could like become like a little bit like different or like confusing for INFJs and INFPs, because all this time an INFP could think that they've been using NI when in actuality they've been using FI. They've been going so deep into understanding their own core values and who they are as a person and their own individuality that they're now able to be able to see that in other people and resonate with them, as opposed to INFJs who actually have taken the time to like understand like, okay, one moment I was thinking about this, I was thinking about lamps, and then the next moment I just remember like about maybe like 2 minutes later, now I'm thinking about chairs. How did I even get here? Oh wait, let me retrace my thought process. The reason why I got to chairs is because I was thinking about lint rollers, and the reason why I was thinking about lint rollers is because I was like looking at this dust particle over here, and then that. Well, I don't know how lint rollers and chairs like connect, but you guys get the point. I don't know. You guys get the point of what I'm saying, though. They retrace their thought process enough to where they'll be able to understand how they got from point A to point D in their thoughts. And then INFPs and ISFPs are able to understand how people got from point A to point D in their emotions. And emotions and thoughts are different, even though they are similar. And so that's one way that you can get like the two confused, and you just have to focus on like, okay, which one do I naturally do? And like I said, this goes like a lot more deeper in the article, so I definitely encourage you guys to go and read that. It's a great article, and it goes a lot more in depth with like a concept that I'm not really going to be talking too much about, but it's mirroring emotions versus absorbing emotions. And as an ENFJ, I can totally resonate with this. INFJs and ENFJs tend to, because of that NI and that FE mix, we tend to literally take on other people's emotions like in real time. For me, honestly, personally speaking, I'm the type to like watch movies and shows and all of that, and I'm not kidding, I literally have to tell myself out loud that it's just a movie, it's scripted, that's just an actor, it's okay, everything's gonna be all right. Because I get so into the movie, I get so into the TV show that I literally start feeling what that character is feeling. And this has happened like all my life before I even knew about MBTI. And when I learned about MBTI, it's like, well, now I finally understand. Like, and I believe they call those people like empaths. Now, INFPs, they can experience this to an extent, but they don't necessarily absorb the emotions like an INFJ or ENFJ would. They instead would say, oh man, I know exactly how that person is feeling, or I can really relate to how that person is feeling because I know my feelings so well, and I remember when I felt this way because of that, and that's similar to how that person's feeling right now. INFJs and ENFJs don't really like do that. We resonate and we absorb the other person's feelings in that sense, but we don't really self-reference that much, as opposed to like INFPs, they self-reference a lot. I know an INFP who she can't help it, but actually I know three who just can't help but reference themselves whenever they're like giving advice and all of that, because they only know how to really like validate your feelings and everything through how they've been feeling themselves. And so, like I said, once you read like the article, then that'll make like a lot more sense. But INFJs tend to absorb emotions, and INFPs tend to mirror emotions. Another thing that I've seen as a difference between INFPs and INFJs is that INFPs, because they love to like just check out all the nuances of their own emotions, they tend to bask in how they feel. If an INFP feels like they've been offended or wronged or whatever type of way, then they are in no rush to make amends. They, in a way, want to use that opportunity to basically like taste how they feel. So like if for example, okay, this is gonna be a weird metaphor that just came to mind, but bear with me. So imagine that there are like several different like mailboxes. So you know how like in apartment buildings they have a whole wall of mailboxes and everything. Now imagine an INFP comes into the room and all sees all these mailboxes and knows that there's like they're usually all locked except for like at different times you can open different ones, and behind each mailbox there's a piece of candy there that every time it's opened then the INFP can take it and they can suck on it, so it's like a jawbreaker I guess, because those take forever to dissolve and finish. So they can take it and they can suck on it and they can do whatever they want, like eat it, whatever. And it's not like something where you can just like, you cannot just like bite into a jawbreaker and then that's over with. They want to like take their absolute time dissolving it and licking it and doing whatever it else it takes. Sorry if this sounds very suggestive. And they want to really absorb that whole entire, that candy. That's how INFP emotions are. So the only way that you're able to open up that specific mailbox is if a certain emotion is triggered. So now I'm about to bring this metaphor a little bit to reality. Once you've given an INFP a reason, a substantial reason, or sometimes not really substantial, but just enough of an excuse to be angry, now they're like, oh yes, I can run into that mailbox room, and the mailbox that's labeled angry has the angry candy inside of it and it tastes good and I want to have that. So I'm going to use that anger now that you've just given me. You've just given me the key to go and open up that mailbox. I'm going to grab that jawbreaker and I'm going to suck on it and I'm going to enjoy it, and you are going to be apologizing and all of that right away and all of that, and I don't want to hear it. But then as soon as I'm done with the jawbreaker and everything and that mailbox is closed again, then I don't really have any reason to continue to be angry anymore. I've already enjoyed sulking in my emotion and everything and absorbing it, and it felt good. I wrote about it in my journal. I've done this and I've done that. And so now, if you apologize to me, I'll be like, yeah, sure, why not? And there you go. And that goes for like basically like every emotion. So for INFPs, emotions are not bad. In fact, they see it more as like piano keys. As long as you play the right notes at the right time, then it's okay. But you know, like it's not bad. Well, yeah. INFJs, on the other hand, because they have their FE or harmony function, then they don't spend that much time sulking in how they feel. They spend way more time in how other people feel. And so in order to like make things like appropriate for society and everything, then when you try to create harmony with them, because they are so harmony focused, then even if internally they haven't really like taken the time to like really fix the problem emotionally or whatever, they will accept your apology because they want harmony, they want understanding, they don't want no more static, they don't want you to feel that bad anymore. And on top of that, because they have NI as their dominant process, then they understand like how you were able to get to that conclusion. Like they understand like where you're coming from most of the time. So it's harder for them to be able to like really hold a grudge against you in that sense. And I also believe that it's because INFPs have introverted feeling and introverted sensing right there as like a loop, with extroverted intuition in between. And so INFPs tend to like hold grudges because they keep they use their FI and their SI to basically like their SI keeps the memory and the details of the memory of what you've done to them, and then their FI is like, yeah, that's how I feel about it, and I don't care what other people feel, this is how I feel. Of course, you know, the more mature the INFP, then the less likely this is to happen. But they're just way more likely to be that way as opposed to the INFJ, where they don't necessarily like hold grudges because their TI is the loop and their NI. And so their TI is more detached and it's more able to just look at things more rationally and be like, yeah, whatever. Like, sure, I forgive you because FE wants to create harmony. TI doesn't really care and it sees things like in a logical manner. And then NI, their first function, is able to understand why you were able to even have that thought process or what exactly your motivations were to begin with. I hope that makes sense. Speaking of making sense, the next point that I have is INFPs tend to ramble a lot more, as opposed to INFJs tend to choose words with exactitude. If you watch me and David's INFJ, ENFJ video, then you'll see that although I choose my words a lot more rapidly and a lot more quickly, I still choose my words with exactitude, because I feel like I have to get the perfect words to describe every single thing that I'm trying to say. Whenever people quote me, I want people to quote me like verbatim, and I don't want them to just say the essence of what I was saying because I choose all of my words that carefully. Same thing with David. He chooses his words very precisely as well, and I believe that everybody in the beta quadra, which is basically ESTPs, ISTPs, ENFJs, and INFJs, all the people with those same four functions, they choose their words with precise manner because of that TI and FE axis that they have, and then the NI and SE as well. But INFPs, on the other hand, they tend to ramble. And you can check this out with even one of my friends' YouTube channels. Her name on here is Ramble On. She's an INFP, and as you watch her videos, then she has so many cuts because she just can just talk and talk and talk, and she knows this. And I know a lot of INFPs that like when I sit down and I actually talk with them, then they can just talk and talk and talk, and it's going in circles, and you're not really even following like where they're going. And then finally, they're just like, all of them do this. They're just like, yeah, am I making sense? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, of course, everybody does this to an extent, even I do. But for them, it's like they don't even know if they're making sense to themselves because NE can contradict so many times. For me, when I'm usually saying it, or for when David is usually saying it, it's usually I know exactly what I want to say, but I don't know if I'm communicating that right. As opposed to like INFPs and even ENFPs, they're like, wait, I don't even know if I really know exactly what I'm saying anymore because my NE is being able to see all these different ways or all these different like angles, and it's like, shoot, I don't even know if that's right. So that's another thing. Like INFPs tend to like ramble a lot more, and INFJs tend to choose their words like very precisely. So the fourth point that I have is both can be artists, but INFP art tends to be more abstract, personal, and individualistic. The INFJ art tends to be abstract as well, but they want people to understand it because its objective is influence. I think like the most clear example of this that I can give you is my friend Albany Andalus. She's an INFP, and INFP to the core. Ever since high school, me and her have like just naturally gotten along. We've had absolutely phenomenal, great conversations. She admires my FE and my NI, and I admire her NE and FI. and we just have a great conversation, all of that. This was like back way before I even knew about MBTI, and then when we learned about MBTI, then we were just like, oh, well, no wonder. And if you check out her Instagram page, you can see how extremely individualistic she is, and she uses all of these abstract images and vivid colors and like great imagination behind like all that she's just putting out there. Even her captions are like having to do with just being individualistic and just a creative, like she has a very creative essence to her that's all about being authentic and true to yourself. And then you have my friend David, who's INFJ, who I've also known forever, also have great, phenomenal conversations with and everything. And if you check out his Instagram page, then he also has similar type of art, but it's different in the sense of it's not as abstract. It's still abstract, but it's creative and abstract just enough to where it's still creative, but it's not like it has a clear message behind what is he's trying to convey, because his objective is not necessarily individuality, but it's impact. He wants you to understand the message that he has for the world. He wants you to understand an insight that he has for the world, because that's his NI and his FE coming together. As opposed to Albany, she has her NE and her FI coming together. And so that's creating more of like an individualistic, be true to yourself type of message, while David is more of saying like, still be true to yourself, but also like, I have a clear message that could help us all together get along better in a harmonious way. And my last point is INFP are not as liable to social custom. INFJ are. As you can see from the art that I just showed you, Albany's page is like she's comfortable with just having like a lot of like nude type of like pictures and all of that, and even like seemingly suggestive and pornographic material and everything, because she sees it as like just being authentic, like F what everybody else thinks, like as long as this is you go ahead and do it. As opposed to INFJs, they tend to have more of a, okay, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to behave in this type of way, I don't want to like make this type of art, or at least if I do, I'm more slow to like putting it out there, because I have an image to maintain, and I want to impact society in this way, and this might not be like appropriate, or this might not fit the social custom. Some people may like look at it as offensive or whatever, while the INFP is like, it doesn't matter if this offends you, like this is how I feel, this is what I am, so F you for that. That's just kind of how it is. This also goes with small talk. INFPs hate small talk. They absolutely cannot stand it for the most part. They love in-depth conversations on how they feel, how you feel, even thoughts of the universe, like multiverses and like all this like abstract stuff that's just like very deep and rich. Like me and my INFPs never have small talk conversation. Every time that I talk to the INFP that I'm actually planning to do the INFP interview with, Mandy, super deep conversation. Same with my INFP friend Nicole, and just like all that. It's never small talk. But INFJs, on the other hand, they also hate small talk, but they put up with it due to their FE. And I mentioned this in my ENFJ problems, paradoxes, and patches video, how like we also dislike small talk, but because of our FE, we know that it's necessary for society, and so we just tend to like go with it or tolerate it. INFJs do this less than ENFJs do because they're introverted, but still they decide to anyway. They decide to put up with a lot of small talk that people like toss their way, because they know that, well, this is just how society runs, and it's the appropriate and nice thing to do to create harmony, while an INFP is way less likely to do this. I know an INFP who literally, like, if you try to have small talk with her, she will literally just like short answer you the whole entire time, and she'll have a face that's just like yelling to you like, please just stop talking to me. And she doesn't care. She does not care at all. She'll tell you that too. Like she just doesn't care. But once you finally get her engaged in like something like really deep, you'll see like her face like light up, and she'll just be happy to talk to you all about it. Something that she's very passionate about. She'll just ramble about that. But then you go back to like small talk on things that she's not really like as interested in, and all of a sudden it's just like, yeah. Also, one more thing, INFJs tend to be more friendly and outgoing. Like, just going off of what I just said, like they, because of their FE, they know like, okay, it's not necessarily that they're being fake, but they know that like this is appropriate to act this way towards like other people, as opposed to an INFP who, if they feel upset, if they feel annoyed with you, if they feel like they don't really like you, that's what they're going to show you. And so that's another thing to really keep in mind. It's not necessarily that INFPs are mean, but it's just that they're less likely to fake how they feel because they're so about authenticity, as opposed to like INFJs. It's not necessarily that they fake how they feel, but they just put how they feel like to the side, or they detach from it because of their TI, and they give you like what is appropriate, which is actually like how they feel at the end of the day, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's just all to like wrap it up. Hopefully I've helped you guys a lot, and hopefully by the end of this video you now know if you are an INFP or an INFJ. Be sure to leave comments and questions, and if you need me to elaborate on something, then go ahead and do so. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my other videos, and definitely check out Antonio Dodge's article that I talked to you about. Like, check out the description down there, and I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, or a great rest of your night, or whatever it is. Done.